Okay, everyone who has tuned in and is listening either on a podcast or on YouTube, I'm very excited today because I have a very, very special guest. And you don't normally see us do interviews on Wide Boyz and talk about, lots of other crack climbers, but there is one opportunity which really opened up recently, and that was to speak to one of the original crack legends, Didier Berthod. Welcome.
Well, thanks, Tom. And hello to everybody listening to this podcast.
I can't tell you how many people sent me messages saying they were so excited that I was going to get to speak to you. And then at the same time, I was sending messages back going, I know, I literally have 10 years worth of questions that I just want to speak to Didier, because to you are like the father of my crack obsession. And I wanted to always have some kind of communication with you, but you were like a mystery person that was out there somewhere. You're here now.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I really kind of knew about you was the First Ascent film and Cobra Crack and like these amazing crack climbs that you did, like this big tour where you did many of the world's hardest cracks. And then you basically went off the climbing scene, and we knew that you'd joined a monastery, you'd become a monk, and then a long time has passed since then. So what's happened? What's been happening in the life of Didier? Tell me.
Well, many things.
Wow. How many years is it? 12 years? 13 years?
No, 13 years.
13 years.
14 now, but 13 years. I spent 13 years in a monastery. Yeah. Well, not exactly. Because I spent 4 years in a monastery, and then I went in a town to study theology, and I spent 5 years in this town, and 3 other as a student chaplain, kind of. But altogether, it has been 13 years, kind of 100% involved in kind of radical Christian, hyper spiritual way. Yeah. And so why did I get to that? Well, this is a big question, and it's hard to tell because it's not so pink, c'est pas si rose en français. But let's say I always had like an interest into spirituality, and I grew up in a Christian Catholic family and culture also, and I needed to do a stop with climbing because I was tired from climbing. I guess many climbers get to a point where you just want to stop and just want to don't speak anymore about climbing and stuff. And I got to this point, but I also got to this point when I was through very, very hard life difficulties. And at the same point, I had a huge spiritual experience, like a huge one. In a Christian culture, we say like a meeting with God. I could say now something more like a opening of mind stuff, you see. And in the same time, also, I get very close from a priest who had a huge influence on me. A good influence, and also somehow a not very good influence on me. And with this guy, I went to the monastery life, which connected with me in a lot of things, because I had this opening to, and this desire to go into this adventure of the spiritual life. And this was also a time in my life when I needed to do something. I needed to do a break, but then I get into it kind of deep, and I thought it's gonna be my ultimate chapter of my life. I really thought that. I really thought I was gonna be a monk for the whole of my whole life, or maybe go as a missionary somewhere in Africa or somehow, I don't know where, but like a very like spiritual, ultra radical Christian. I was in this mood. That is why I get into now. Why did I get off the monastery? Because I get off the monastery.
So you're completely out now.
Yeah, from 2 years almost now.
Yeah,
I'm still a priest. I'm still working as a priest in a parish in Switzerland, but not anymore in a monastery, and not anymore neither in a radical Christian, religious, dogmatic kind of. Somehow I went to be a fundamentalist Christian somehow, and I quit. I definitely quit this path, but I'm still in love with the message of Christ, and I still enjoying being a leader in the spirituality, leading a community and leading worship and stuff, and also like studying theology. I'm gonna keep going my study actually next year, but not anymore in a monastery, kind of out of the world, you know. Why did I get off the monastery? Well, it's complicated, but to resume, it could be say that I discovered a new way of being a Christian. I thought being a Christian and being a Christian was necessarily being a religious guy, but I discovered that being a Christian is more about being somebody like in the society, like normal, and you can totally be a Christian without being a religious guy, kind of way. Okay. So I discovered that, and actually it kind of freed me a lot, because I had some unfinished business in my life waiting for me, and somehow I'm very happy now not to be anymore in the monastery, to be back on climbing, but to be still a priest and to be still involved in, because it belongs to me, this kind of spiritual side of my person. So I think now it's kind of cool, because I can do kind of all together. Like, I love climbing, I love being open to God or meaning stuff, and I love to live, and now it's kind of yeah.
It's a good blend of everything. And did you miss the outdoors and rock climbing specifically when you were in the monastery? Because to me, like, I'm really obsessed about climbing, and I can be quite black and white, like all in or all out. But I'm really curious to hear whether always during that time you so involved with, you know, religion, theology, that it was very easy to be out of climbing, or did you always feel like it pulled you back?
No, it was easy. it was easy. And actually into theology and spirituality, I get into like 100%.
Okay.
I kind of think I had a huge level, if you can say that, you know, it's uncountable, but I went huge deep in that stuff, and it was really fulfilling.
And what's it been like coming back to climbing from such a big break? Like, that's a long time out. Have you come back to it with the same love, a different love? How's that been?
Regarding the love, I would say that it's the same passion, but it's more wise. It's more calm. It's not like just like wow, woo, wee. It's like no, it's cool, and but it's the same passion. I would say even the fire gets it's less a flame. It's more the, you know, the big heat.
Yeah, like the embers. The embers.
Yeah, the ember there. Yeah, it's more like that.
Yeah.
And also I put way more attention about on the friendship and about the human experience you can have through climbing. That's maybe the big difference. And I'm less and way less so up and down. You know, I was totally up and down when I used to climb before. It's just like, wow, huge project. It's just like, yoo-hoo. And then you down because you're tired, your body is super tired. So your mind gets also super down, and then super high, and then super down. And now it's more like just cool, and lots of love and passion, but more human.
And have you come back to, when you come back to climbing, has it still been a big focus on the crack climbing? Because for me, I grew up knowing you as a crack climber specifically, and I had no awareness of whether you actually climbed other styles as well. So I just put you in the box of incredible crack climber, and people do exactly the same with me, but I have no idea whether you are just a crack climber. I mean, how does that work for you?
Yeah, I restarted climbing just to climb and to be to have fun with friends, and to unify my life and to reconcile my life. But it's true, I love rock climbing, I love bouldering, and I love crack climbing. But that is true that into crack climbing I can give the huge expression of myself, and in fact I went back into crack climbing already last summer and recently now, and somehow that is still like a huge passion. But I love climbing other stuff. I went to the gym just before, which is great to boulder in the gym because they just opened like last week in Switzerland. It's just just cool to climb.
Do you think that there should be cracks in the gym?
I don't know, because what I love into cracks, it is the beauty and the protection, you know, the gear you have to place. And I really love, you know, like just bouldering in the gym. And why not bouldering with some hand jumps sometime? Why not? But just a hand jump for me is kind of nothing. But like a huge, super nice crack, that is awesome, you know. That is what is make me in fire somehow. And in the gym, it's cool to have some cracks, but it's way better outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think many of the best lines in the world are crack climbs. They have the most continuity, the purity of the line.
Yeah.
It's when you look at a big crag, it's what your eye is drawn to.
Mhm.
So I think it's one of the best parts of climbing to be into and to be good at, because you basically have the door opened to many of the world's best climbs in the
Mhm.
entire world. And you're like, and I can do these now. It's really cool.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Well, one of the things that and I guess I'll kind of be able to tell you about sort of how sort of obsessed I was about crack climbing when I first really got into it was I'd seen the film that had featured a lot of your footage, which was First Ascent, and it had like Cobra and Greenspit and like these really really iconic lines. And it came at a time of my life where I'd actually got a really bad injury,
Okay.
and I could like barely even really use my hand, so I couldn't just do normal climbing. But the one thing I could do is I still could do crack climbing.
Mm.
And the video that featured your segment in it came at this perfect moment where I was the lowest in my morale, but this inspiration from the film provided this like instant burst of opportunity for me. And I there and then said, I want to try and be the best crack climber in the world. And I wanted to go and try all these routes, even though I was like a really mediocre climber, like just not that great, just okay. And so
Wow.
then I went on this path of trying to do these other routes. So like trying Greenspit, and all I could do was just hang on every move and do nothing. But I could go back and watch the video of you trying it, and I'll be like, that's how Didier does that sequence. This is what he does here. And it really, really motivated me to take this journey, because so much inspiration was in one place, like all within that video. It was, I think, a very special experience, because normally you look at people that you look up to and they inspire you, and you can't have that interaction with them, especially as you'd left climbing essentially. But in this case, is I could go to those climbs and try the climbs, and then see how you did on the climbs, then see how I did. And it was so cool to do that. It was really interesting.
Yeah, thank you for showing me this story. That's awesome. And yeah, we had to climb together, dude.
Yeah, I know. Like,
Yeah.
definitely, I'm like, when I can travel, I'm coming out where we have to go climbing. Yeah, sure.
That's cool. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a big part of my life, like a really
Mm.
big change in my journey. And
Okay.
many people like know this stuff about me, that a lot of that stuff, really, the little steps I took along the way were all the things that gave me belief, like self-belief in being able to do other things in life. And those little steps of following along on those projects in the film and being able to do them. And so that part, the crack climbing thing, has just spread so much further into other stuff
Wow.
as well. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's
I have a
really
lot to
cool.
thank to you. You're definitely
Okay.
yeah. One question I was going to ask you was, and both me and Pete, who I've climbed with for 10 plus years and done a lot of the projects together as well, is when we went and tried the routes like Greenspit and Cobra, and watched the footage that you had of you trying them, and we tried exactly the same sequences, and we were left it going, Didier was really strong, like quite a bit stronger than we thought that people realized. Like, you were ahead of the game. And this made us wonder, how did you get ahead of everyone else on this crack climbing element? What were you doing? Were you doing like extra hard training, or was it genetics or motivation, or what?
Well, I had no coach. I trained a lot, kind of. I was really into training, but like many other climbers. But I think what can what can have made the difference can maybe be the passion to love them, I could dream about routes like for weeks and months, and really get psyched, you know, and really have a huge energy to pay the price you have to pay. That is passion. And when I do things with passion, you know, when everything say into you, that's right, that makes sense, I can do like 100%. Exactly what I did with the monastery, kind of, you know, like just like a huge amount of power, of energy, of passion. I did that for crack climbing. I think that's my explanation. I always thought I wasn't built like the perfect climber. I had to deal a lot with jealousy as I was a climber before. I was like, wow, his guy, but if he would train a little bit, he would be so strong. So you see some morphology, the perfect climber morphology. And I always thought I hadn't the perfect climber morphology, but had the passion.
When you said you did training, was that like training just in a normal gym on normal handholds, or was that like wooden cracks? Did you do any of the stuff that me and Pete do, like these, you know, fake wooden cracks and stuff like that?
No.
Did you think about it at all? Like, did it was an option?
I never thought about that. No.
All right.
Yeah. I just thought about getting really, really strong, you know, because you get a lock you know, little finger, you have to be strong. I mean, and I train in the goal of being strong. just how I trained. Yeah,
because it's interesting when me and Pete started doing a lot of, you know, crack climbing and really trying to push the standard. It seemed to us so logical that, and maybe this is because we're in England and there's no hard crack climbing, but it seems so logical that the only way we were ever going to get to the next level is that we had to make wooden cracks. But maybe it's different with the access you had to harder cracks, maybe.
Yeah, or maybe you are right. And I was just like, you know, just like without, but obviously you push further the levels. So I gonna get to use stuff, you know, stuff like.
Have you noticed, like during these 13 years or so, is what has been your I don't know how much attention you've paid to it, but have you kept in touch with the hard crack climbs that have been done over the last decade? Like, are you aware of the things that me and Pete have done, and people like Mason Earl and Danny Parker? Like, are you aware of the changes and the change in standard? Is that aware on your radar?
Yeah, but I got half of it, I think. I saw you guys doing some half-width in the States.
Yeah.
But and I saw Mason Earl doing a super awesome crack in the desert. You know, I want to go there. It's the perfect line. But not really. I saw also like Nico, a friend of mine told me about Nico Favre's recovery drink, stuff like that. Yeah, but that's it. Maybe once a year I was checking the web to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And by the way, you know what's weird? Not weird. When I was in the university, once in a theology course, the teacher spoke about base jumping, and he was saying that base jumping was super dangerous. And a friend of mine didn't know what was base jumping, went to the web to find out, and that was the exact day when Dean Pot died. So I just want to because somehow Dean Potter was my master. And like an homage to him now. He didn't know. But that was the way I got in touch, like once a year in the web. Not much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Because I, like I told you, I really thought I was gonna stay and die in the monastery. Yeah. So yeah, there is some youngs and stuff. There new stuff. Yeah, okay.
And does the new stuff that's been done now, which is like, I think there's a lot more steep crack climbing, like more gymnastic, more like roof style and steeper. Does that appeal to you when you come back to the sport now? Because I always watched your climbing and you were a very gymnastic style crack climber. Like you weren't, old school 1980s, like
yeah,
like big moves and jumping around. It seemed like Didier territory. Does it?
Yeah.
Do you want to go and do some of this stuff?
Yeah, I want to be back on that stuff. Yeah, I want to go back.
And Europe or America, like what?
I would say both, but I've no plans. Just I have one goal. One big goal is to get back in shape and somehow return into hard crack climbing to kind of finish the job. Because many people, and I do understand now, thought I was wasting my life, kind of. Not even my time, but my life. And I think they were right. And I think it would be great for my own biography and story of human experience, but also for all the people who were believing in me, kind of, to go back in hard climbing and to enjoy and make others enjoy, and just to sing without thinking, to sing through climbing that life is great and we are super lucky to be able to climb. And with this gift of my life, I want to do some great stuff for God, because I put God in the story, but also for the people and for myself. So yeah, but I'm good. But in the same time, I have no plan, no precise plan. That's the big goal, and then I'm gonna work with my friends and being open to new stuff and new meeting and adventure, and to see how it's gonna go. Because I do also think it maybe won't work. I don't know if I can reach the big level again. I've no idea, so I there is no pressure on me. I'm just very happy to be back on climbing and to have the opportunity to kind of unify my life and to réparer. Je sais pas comment on dit. Je vais juste chercher. I'm gonna just look at something. To fix and to repair some stuff I broke.
My French was nearly right.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I can't believe it.
Okay, great.
A second.
That's a sign. You got to come here. And yeah, well,
actually, I've got no idea. How old are you?
I'm 39. Gonna turn 40 this summer.
Okay, so we're nearly the same age.
Okay.
And I'm still just about getting better. So you definitely are okay.
I trained with a coach now
Yeah.
for more than 1 year, and yeah, I can see. I get back in a big level even now, kind of.
And when you go back to, like, you think about crack climbing and the stuff that you're doing at the moment, and climbing locally. Another question that's me and Pete have both also wondered about quite a lot is, do you do all of the crack sizes and like all different types? Like, do you climb off widths and stuff like that as well? Because me and Pete, everyone thinks that we're just off width climbers, and we're like, no, we don't climb off widths anymore. Like, we done that. That's finished. I like finger cracks and hand cracks and stuff, but I don't know about you.
Yeah, I did climb some off width in Indian Creek or Yosemite, but I never get into it like you did, you and Pete. The main reason is I never get passionate by line and because it always had been like that in my story. It's just like huge line and you want to climb it, and I never met huge off width line. Maybe if I've seen Century Crack, I think I would have been too, because it's awesome line. It's just like crazy, and you fall in love and then you train, but I never had this experience, so I never really climb off with, and then whatever, for me, just line, the beauty of the line, and it's always actually a surprise, the site it's gonna be. I have a friend, Fred Wax, in Switzerland, which I climb quite a lot with, and we found some new cracks in Switzerland this year. But it was always a surprise, like, oh, this is a ring lock crack. Oh my God, it's gonna be hard, And it's how I work.
Yeah. Oh, I've got to tell you about something that I think has changed in crack climbing. So, so how we all learn to do ring lock technique, and we're stacking our thumbs, and it's like that really bad size, which is really difficult to climb. So me and Pete have been training in a different way in these thin cracks that we call a paddle hand. So when you put your hand into the crack, and it's quite a narrow crack, is you finger bar across the crack. So you're not into your thumb, so it's not deep. You can just go to this point here, and you finger bar in the crack, and you can do this all the way up the crack, and you can get super strong in this way. And we call this the paddle hand. And it's like, when people do fingerboarding and they just hang in a position, they get really strong in a position. This, for me, is like the equivalent in crack climbing, and you can climb ring locks like this now.
Okay. What does the move look like? Do you do like small moves, or you do like
you go this way?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we call it the paddle hand.
It's funny because it made me thinking I never learned, but I had no teacher in crack climbing. Just like, except maybe the pain.
Yeah.
But I take the tip, the tricks.
Yeah, you have to try it a little bit.
I'm gonna try for sure.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I think there's like a few things that have changed for me over the last 10 years. I also think that you would, if you went back to America again, you have to go down to the canyon lands where Century Crack is, because the steep roof climbs, they are the best lines in the world. Like these big roofs, they're just incredible. And I mean, we found roof cracks that were 300 foot long, and we couldn't even climb it in one pitch in a roof and just splitter all the way through, and 40 cams and stuff for the pitches. So crazy. But the most beautiful lines as well, just the best. Like the architecture, everything, just incredible.
Okay. So they are there.
Yeah.
They exist.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to go. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah, I do believe you 100%. I do believe you. There is a bunch of crazy stuff to do for sure.
Yeah,
that's great.
Another question that I really wanted to ask you about, and this relates back to when I think that you were the cutting edge of crack climbing. When you were trying those lines, did you have a mindset where you realized that because of the ability that you were at, so the grade or the standard that you were at, that you suddenly looked at all these other lines on the cliffs and went, I could do this. Oh, I could try this. And like your mind was open to so many opportunities and projects, because back then, and even now there's lots of projects still, but back then there was even more. Was it like, I don't have enough time to try all these things? How did it feel like back then?
Maybe one thing is I was aware that it could be a new kind of style of climbing, which has never quite be experienced, is to mix the European kind of style of climbing, like big moves and boulder stuffs, and to mix that with the crack climbing style, like very static, like boop, boop. And I was aware that it could be a new kind of new style, like putting European skills, which was my background, into the Indian creek stuff, or it came little to little, but I was aware about that. And but then in the same time, I got tired about climbing, and I had to. So I wanted to do like the quest of a dream line was in me. Yes, for 2 or 3 years, but then I get tired, and but yeah, the quest of the huge line which needs super hardcore sport climbing skills, and also super skills of crack climbing and placing gear. I went into that, yeah. And I found stuff like that.
Yeah,
and many other
And were there so like in Valle dell'Orco, where Greenspit is that was obviously a really famous roof crack that got done. There's quite a lot of other roof crack projects. Did you try any of those other lines?
No. My friend Fred Max told me there's a bunch of new stuff there.
Yeah,
but I never get back there yet.
We should go.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to go back. I got some friends also there, because I love the people there. I love the simplicity of the people. Would love to go back for sure.
Yeah, it's a really good. I think it's a really good climbing style in that valley, because it's steep and athletic, but the cracks there often have some level of face holds as well. So it works really well. It's not like pure Indian creek style, which is why stuff like Greenspit, for example, is such an enjoyable climb. I mean, both me and Pete have been back multiple times and climbed it multiple times, because it's so much fun, because it's not just pure, the same size all the way. It's something different all the time. So it's like, it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And what do you think were your what did you consider your strengths in crack climbing for you personally? Is it like the dynamic style for you, or is it fingers, or like a particular thing which is great for Didier, but if I said, oh, would you like to try this, you go, oh no, give me a 5-10.
I'm quite strong to do blocage. How do you say?
Yeah, like boulders, like hard cruxes. Or no,
Yeah,
lock.
but
Lock.
to lock, yeah. Can talk about it. But I don't know.
Yeah. maybe you're an all-rounder and you're just good at most of the stuff. Apart from off width.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very good in hand jamming.
Yeah. And do you tape up?
Yes, I do. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And have you tried the rubber gloves as well?
Not a lot, just a little bit. That's okay for easy cracks.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced for hard cracks. I tried something last week, and the handmade gloves works for me better. It's more precise.
Yeah, I agree. It's because it's like, I think the equivalent of it's like wearing a climbing shoe and trying to wear a big rubber boot.
Yeah,
the big rubber boot, you can go climbing in it, but it's just not that accurate.
It's very comfortable for easy cracks.
Yeah.
But if you need to be precise, no way. Yeah.
And when you have got sort of plans over the next year or so, are you mainly just climbing in Switzerland and exploring these new areas and putting up new routes with like Fred and other people?
I think it's going to be my main stuff, but I'd love to go back in the States, but I don't know when. And but I'd love to go back to the creek. It's such a great place, but I'm gonna let me guide by the life and to see where the wind blow and where the flow and the good spirit, good friendships go.
Well, it sounds like you found a really good balance now.
Exactly. I told a journalist a couple of months ago, before my monastery life, I was 100% passionate by climbing, but only by climbing, which is great, but not so far. I mean, life is not only about climbing, but I was only about climbing too much. And then I went into God, like huge religious radical life, 100% about God. And life is not only about God, kind of. And now I'm really passionate about the humankind, the humanity, the human experience. And this passion allow me to reconcile my passion of climbing and passion of God, and to have a really great balance. And well, it has been like 2-3 years now. I'm in this balance, and I'm very happy. Things works, friendships grows. I think yeah, it's good balance. I think I needed a lot of time, but I kind of found my way of being a human and my place in the humankind, because for me that was very, very hard stuff to find out who I am and what is my mission. I told about jealousy. It was very, very hard for me to know, yeah, who I am. I was a lot into imitation, and I'm still a lot into imitation. It's something good because humankind is about imitation, but now I find something more stable, and yeah, I think it's great.
It's really interesting to hear that, because I think one of the things that I've definitely learned over my life so far, and whether it's involved with sport or outside of sport, is that often what differentiates the greatest experiences or the greatest achievements or the greatest rock climbing, whatever they might be, it is often the mindset behind people. It's not just a physical thing in life. It's often about what actually goes on inside of the head, and how those people express themselves and how they have an internal and an external expression. And I think it's very hard to describe in a photo or an article or an interview. And it just comes with time. When you spend time with people, you start to understand it. But I think it's the truly unique thing which differentiates those different experiences. So yeah, I totally agree how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Definitely. I heard about you and Pete quite a lot, actually, and it's a pleasure to speak with you and to yeah.
Did people tell you that we were like following in your footsteps, and we were like slowly going through the cracks? And they were like, "You should." There's these two guys. They really like crack climbing as well.
Not in this way. I didn't know that. Yeah, didn't know that.
Yeah. Like you so much of like the inspiration for everything. Like I have messages from the films of the stuff you said in films written in my cellar where I train, like stuff, because I'm like, I can just get in the zone because I can just think about the stuff that you were doing, and I find it super inspiring. And I'm like, yes, I'm loving this. Awesome.
That's great.
It was cool. It definitely gave me a good, I suppose, like a framework to work by, like a journey to follow. And I like journeys, like they're fun,
Sure.
It's not about where you end at the end. It's like the journey, and that's that's the best bit for me. So
definitely for me too. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I hope we can, somehow when travel and stuff like that happens again, everything, I'm definitely going to come out your way. And Fred has sent me like 20 messages today telling me about all this different stuff. I'm like, I've got to work, Fred. I can't think about crack climbing now. But
that, 2 weeks ago, we find in Ticino, the Italian part of Switzerland, like a world-class crack. And it will be a pleasure to invite you there and to see you having a hard time in it.
Yeah, I've got to try and get recovery drink done this year. That's what I really want to do.
Oh, you do want to recovery drink?
Yeah, I got really, really close 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then
Pete did it, but you don't. Okay.
Yeah. So we both got very, very close. And then Pete went back the year afterwards and did it. And then I kind of left climbing for like a year and a half. And I went like ultra running, so ultra distance running.
Okay.
And I got really weak at climbing. And it was terrible for climbing, but I did some other cool stuff that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And so now I'm coming back. It's like my mission back again.
Great.
Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed it and everything like that, because it's been lovely for me. Really, really nice.
Yeah, no, definitely. I loved it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It was a privilege.
And I'm sure I will be in touch. And I will see you and Fred in person as soon as I can do some traveling.
Will definitely be a huge pleasure. Yeah,
it'd be really cool, like the best ever. Yeah, all of us going crack climbing would be amazing.